It's time for No Pad Sports Talk. Stay tuned as two brothers bring you the latest from your Michigan teams and beyond in hockey, baseball, football, and more. Let's get started. Here are your hosts, JD and Steve.
Welcome to another edition of No Pad Sports Talk. I am one of your hosts, JD, on a fantastic Lions victory Sunday.
And I am Steve, and I am just as ecstatic because, well, our Lions pulled one out today.
In impressive fashion, I'd say.
Very impressive. They did some things that they only haven't been doing, especially on defense. And as we get started and we get into this, like, we're hurting. Like,
oh yeah,
player-wise, we had another offensive player go down today, and that is some work. It's a little worrisome. Sewell did not look very comfortable over on the left side of the line.
No,
and not that he didn't play well. He just, it's different. I mean, the announcer said it really, really well, I thought, on the game when he said it's like trying to tell someone who writes with his right hand and telling them now you got to write with your left hand.
Sure.
Right?
Yeah.
As far as where your feet are set and how you get your hands and all of those types of things. And it just made sense to me, right? Like it is just that different from the right side to the left side.
Well, the issue, too, in my opinion, is when you're looking ahead with these injuries, they don't have long to recover because they got a game Thursday.
Yeah. And it's in Green Bay, correct?
Yeah, it's in Green Bay.
Yeah. So, the rookie came in, the right tackle.
Sorsdale,
yep. And he looked like a rookie.
Yeah.
In run block, though, he looked great. This is obviously pass blocking is a technique. I'm not saying he didn't look bad, but Dupree did make him look bad, a couple of times. So if that's going to be the guy, he's going to play that right side. I think they're going to have to get some. He's going to need some help. Running back chipping, off the edge. Tight end, chipping the defensive end on his way out. Something to slow that down.
Yeah, they got to do something because you can't have Goff under that much distress.
Yeah, you could see his frustration.
Yeah.
And, some of it was, too, I don't know if it was just communication with the receiver. Like, he thought the receiver was going to go one way and they went another. So they still have some things to clean up. It wasn't a perfect game, right?
No.
But, let's talk about my player of the game.
Oh, you want to jump there already?
I already want to talk about it because I'm super excited about it.
I could tell. Okay, go ahead. Talk about it.
Laporta looked fantastic. So I said he'd have 70 yards and a touchdown. What did he get? Like 72, 75 and a touch. He was the second leading receiver.
Yep.
So
yeah,
84. I'm sorry. He had 8 receptions for 84 yards and a touchdown.
Yep.
Right. And he was there. He was that safety outlet. He's looked really good. So I'm very excited about a tight end that we've selected that is actually looking really good.
Yeah, I mean, you were much higher on Laporta than I was in the draft. He was someone you championed. You wanted him really bad. Like just being burned on so many tight ends being drafted early. It was
right.
I was a little. You just get worried about wasting a draft pick again. But But no, Laporta, wow. I mean,
Yep.
literally, he's setting records. So, he's the only tight end in history to start his first 3 professional games with 5 catches or more. That it was yeah. So like now it's already extended to 3 games. So, but yeah, he's looking really good. And we talked about this a little bit previously too. But coming out of college, everybody was talking about how he was more of a pass catching tight end, and nobody's really talking about his run blocking. But even though there's still room to work on his run blocking, he's not as far away from being a solid run blocker as what everyone, including myself, would have thought with him coming out of college.
Exactly, right? He has looked good, right? So I'm trying to look at some numbers, right? Dalton Kincaid went before he did, right?
Okay.
Out of Utah, I think he was the first tight end taken.
Uh-huh.
He has 9 receptions on 10 targets for 69 yards over 2 games. Now I don't have his stats from today, but Laporta got that already today.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, I mean, if we talk about Laporta, one thing I got to say, he's actually leading all tight ends in the whole NFL with reception yards and receptions.
Nice. Right. Michael Mayer through 2 games hasn't done much of anything. 1 reception for 2 yards over 2 games. Michael Mayer, he was kind of a guy I thought if the Lions were gonna get a guy, I thought maybe him, simply because of his size. He's 265. Like he'd be a great end of the line, extra lineman kind of guy, right?
Right.
At least that's what I was thinking. Luke Musgrave, I know he's done some pretty good stuff over at least 2 games. But yeah, he's got 5 receptions and 75 yards through 2 games. So when you look at what we have in Sam Laporta, he is outproducing right now.
Yeah.
And while he's not that next level guy yet, he is well on his way to being the next level guy. Right? Because, like you said, he does block well. I love seeing him come in motion and then going up into the hole and have it, with a running back, and he's picking off linebackers, chipping defensive ends. So he's got great hands. I just at this point I don't really have anything bad to say about him.
I mean, the only thing would be right is just like anybody else, and I'm not. This is nitpicking. I gotta stress that, right? It's nitpicking. There has been some mistakes he's made, and there's been some instances where he has been pushed backwards by bull rushes, things like that, right? But that's nitpicking. As far as a rookie goes, the dude is playing like phenomenal.
Yeah. But when you talk about being bull rushed, he's not a offensive lineman, even.
No, but again, it's just something that you have to be cognizant of. Is all I'm saying, right? Like if you're talking about like areas of improvement, like he's so solid. That's why I call it nitpicking. You have to come up with something where he can improve on, and that's just one of the things that was noticed. So
absolutely. So yeah, look. There's always things like I think some of his route running he might need to work on. But that's just going to come with time. I think Jared Goff has a great outlet in Sam Laporta, and I think that relationship that they're building. Laporta has proven that he can be the guy. Like if you throw it to me, I will catch it.
Yes.
Right. What was it? He had receiving Laporta 8 receptions. I think he was targeted like 10 times.
Yeah, I think I was about right. It's gonna be 10 or 11.
You're right. So I want to say that that's what it was, but one of those, I think he kind of got it. It was not his fault, but it was a little over his head, and I think he was trying to throw it. It was actually one player. I don't know who he's actually Goff was throwing it to.
Well, I don't know if it's the same play you're thinking of, but I know this one play after we lost 2 additional offensive linemen. He was getting pressured, just consistently, and he just looked to be very uncomfortable in the pocket. And Sam Laporta was, kind of running more of a like across the field, and he ended up running more towards the sideline, left side of the field, and Goff completely overthrew him. And I do believe like that's the play that stands out to me, where he had no shot at getting that ball.
Right, that's the one I was talking about.
Okay.
Yep. But so Sam Laporta looked good. Brian Branch.
That's what I want to talk about. That guy. Wow. He's the real deal. He's the real deal.
He is absolutely the real deal. And NFL, if you're listening to me, that was not a personal foul.
No, it did not seem to be.
He had his head up, and while there might have been it was helmet to helmet, Bijan Robinson ducked his head.
Yes, he did.
So if anyone got hit with the crown of the helmet, it was Brian Branch.
Right.
Right? So if you're going to penalize defenders for hitting like that, you should be thinking and think on the other side of that when running backs are dipping their head and running into defenders at the same rate of speed, mind you, as some of these defenders. So you can't have it one way. You got to do it both ways, and when it first happened, I thought it was just that Bijan was going low, right? Brian Branch went low, and they still, right? And that's just how that worked. Sometimes it's just a football collision, right? And it wasn't an intentional thing. I just felt like it was a bad call, right? And I hope Brian Branch knows that. It was a great hit. He had some fantastic plays. Fantastic. He was all over the field, right? And it was exactly what we needed with both of our safeties out, right?
Well, so speaking about like you hope he knows it. This is how Brian Branch responded when asked about the hit. All right, and I'm going to quote him here. Okay.
Okay.
But I got to clean it up. But I'm going to quote him. So this is what he says. He says, "F it, F it. I'd rather shoot. Show him I'm not scared to tackle. I'll take a flag, to be honest."
There you go.
End quote. So that's what he's. No, he doesn't. He doesn't care. He's fine with it.
Yeah, I can tell you. Look, this kid. He is a diamond that slid to the second round.
Yeah.
And while we will never understand why he slid to the second round, especially when everyone projected him to be at minimum a late first round pick.
Yeah.
Right? At minimum was a late first round pick. And you guys can go back and look at every single one of those mock drafts. But he was a late first round pick.
Some had him even 11, 12, 13, up that high even.
Absolutely. Like I felt like a lot of them had him in like mid round. Right?
Yeah.
He was a 10 to 20 pick. Right?
Oh,
and
for sure.
He fell to us. The football gods spoke. The football gods looked down on the Lions and says, "We shall gift you with this."
Thank you. Finally, right?
And we say thank you.
But here's what I gotta say. And you touched on it, all right? But we kind of talked about, we kind of went sideways with my quote of him. But we have to go back to it because it's a very, very good point. you were mentioning about how the starting safeties were out, right?
Yes.
So when the starting safeties were out, your secondary, which has already been exposed, was that much weaker, and you needed a big game from somebody, and that somebody came in your rookie, and he had a stat line which was impressive for any player in any point in their career. The dude had 11 solo tackles, 3 tackles for a loss, and 2 passes defended.
Yeah.
It was like I don't even know like he is got to be in the early running for defensive rookie of the year. I don't know if there's another defensive rookie of the year that has done anything close to what Branch has done.
Yeah. Now, Witherspoon is not having a bad year with Seattle.
Well, he only played one game. His debut was against the Lions.
Right, and he played this week too, and he played really well this week. But no one has done what Brian Branch has done.
No. Okay, Witherspoon, he had against the Lions 5 combined tackles with 3, so but let me look at something better. There's how we get better stats on that. I don't like the way that is showing it. I'm not looking like that. But so far he has 6 assists with his tackle totals, right? So 11 tackles. Where is it at? I can't believe this. Why it's been so difficult for me to find. Okay, he's got 8 solo, 3 assists. All right, for 11 tackles total, 2 passes defensed. So yeah, okay, I can see that, right? That was today. He had 8 solo tackles, 3 assists with 2 passes defensed. That is a good stat line.
Yeah, that's a good stat line, right?
Yeah.
So, but Brian Branch, like I said, man, he laid the wood, and you could feel some of those hits. Like he got, I think it was a penalty called against him, and then the very next play he was in the backfield and just smacked the running back.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Like Reddit came in and right into the hole and just bam, just crushed him.
I mean, Branch is not playing like a rookie right now,
no.
Right? So I quoted him with the one thing about the penalty. Another thing that he said, and this is going to be, loosely quoted because I can't remember exactly what he said when I read it, but they were talking about his day, how good of a game he had, and they were kind of asking him like, what do you think was the most memorable that you had that game, or the most impressive that game, and he didn't really say anything specific. He just said, yeah, I had a pretty good game. I guess, studying film, really helped out. And that's about, he just kind of left it at that, right? Studying film kind of left,
right.
Helped out. So, but what I think was interesting was Bijan Robinson, right? He was making defenders look silly in the first 2 games. And then Brian Branch, as a rookie, gives him his welcome to the NFL moment. He's on his back without his helmet, staring at the lights. That was great.
That was just fantastic. Like it really was. It really was. And I mean, what did they hold him to? Bijan. Defensively.
It was
33.
Yeah, 3.3 a carry.
Yeah. 33 total yards. He had 27 yards receiving. Right?
I mean, so I was going to say offensively, they only had Falcons only had 183 total yards, 44 rushing, 139 passing, and they only averaged 2.8 yards per play.
Yeah. So when you look at that total, that domination, right? Because Drake London is probably, between Drake London and Kyle Pitts, that's like the 1-2 punch, right?
Yep.
Kyle Algier, the other running back, the second-year back that they have with London, between those guys, right?
Yeah.
That's and you put in Robinson. When you get those 4 players, we shut them down.
Yeah.
Right? And what was the coolest moment? When Aiden Hutchinson finally got his sack. Like,
yeah.
And how many sacks did we have today?
7.
7. Right? And his was the strip sack, fumble recovery. So he gets the sack, the strip, and the recovery all in one play.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, he was playing off the charts today. Hutchinson did, right?
He also had some good pressures too.
Yeah, our front 4, our front 6, man, God, 7 sacks. That's all you got to say, right?
And Jack Campbell got his first, and this was the first game he actually started, and he got his first sack. The last play of the first half there.
Yeah, everybody, that mentality about the next man up.
Yep.
That happened today for the Lions, right? Because Atlanta, while nobody, you may have been overlooking them, they were 2-0.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And they didn't, again, my favorite thing, they didn't suck.
No.
Right? They are still a good team. And the Lions just put it to them. And the Lions, you and I know you agree with me. The Lions should be 3-0, right?
That they played horrible in that Seattle game.
Yeah, I think they had every opportunity to win that Seattle game, and they didn't, right?
But and I called out Dan Campbell in that game as far as with when he did that went for fourth down, and I just did not think that was appropriate at that time. Go for 4th down because you were within field goal range, and even if you didn't feel comfortable kicking a field goal, like a punt to pin them back, because at that time Seattle was driving, but they weren't finishing. Right? Let them have the yards, or they're not going to finish. So just from what I was thinking, that was a bad play, a call at that time. And this game, not a single time did he go for it on 4th down. Right?
Yep.
Played it safe the entire game.
And he did. Because you heard the announcer say it. Well, they are on the plus 40, the 45 or 47 or whatever it was. We're like, maybe he'll throw it up. No, he punted. And Jack Fox.
Wow.
Jack Fox gets an MVP today.
I agree. Absolutely.
So when that first punt, he kicked it from where, like the 3 or 4 yard line. I mean, we were deep and on in when he kicked that ball, and the returner caught it, I think, on his 10.
It was crazy.
It was a crazy, and then the hang time, like the coverage was there. It just, Jack Fox, I give you one of these because that's a huge part of the game.
He was able, when the Lions were pinned back and weren't able to move the ball, he was able to change field position with his punts. And when your offense is struggling, because he had 6 punts today, right? So they definitely weren't able to move the ball, with every possession, obviously, right? Yep. But when you're not able to move the ball and you're pinned back, having someone that can change field position with just a kick,
because you could there's a lot of teams that don't have that, and when we were deep, they're getting the ball in the 50, like it's short yardage for them.
Yep.
Right.
He had 3 punts today inside the 20, and they were like massive boots.
Oh yeah,
incredible kicks.
Absolutely were. Right.
Yeah.
So it was fantastic. I mean, he averaged 45. No, today 45.
Yeah, he averaged 45.7 today.
45.7 today on punts. That's massive. Right?
Yes, it is.
So like I said, I got to give him. He had a 62-yarder.
He covered
That was that bomb.
He covered 274 total yards in his punts.
Yep.
that's huge. And just for reference, right? The Atlanta punter also had 6 punts. He averaged a little bit more at 49.2. But he only had 1 punt inside the 20. So the difference being, he was able to boom every single kick, whereas there was times that the Lions were, close to the 50-yard line, so he had to, pull up a little bit and just try to, angle it to get it in the inside the 20. And he did. 3 punts inside the 20. That's huge.
Yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely. So it was just, but he's been doing it all year, right?
Well, it's basically his whole career with the Lions. The guy has been great his entire career so far.
Yep. So, I mean, right now he's averaging 45.8 for the season, and he's covered 549 yards. He's had 6 inside the 20. Six out of his 12 punts got put inside the 20.
While we're talking about players and I just have to say this before I forget. I got to give some credit to Iffy, right? Malifonwu.
Yep.
Like he was drafted a few years ago. Hasn't really had a lot of playing time. I was pretty excited when they drafted him. I believe he was out of Illinois. He's a 6'3" guy. And I was pretty happy with the size. He could move really well. But I'm a little disappointed because he hasn't really been playing all that much. And now, granted, this year we just have such depth at safety. I kind of understood. But the guy obviously got thrust into the starting role because of our injuries, and he played well. And I just wanted to while we're mentioning guys that had good games, we want to call them out. I want to call out Iffy.
Yeah.
It was he had some pretty big plays. He had some good hits, and still made 3 solo tackles on top of everything else too. So he played well. One guy that I'm always kind of negative, I guess, in some ways, but one guy that was a little disappointing was Tracy Walker. He dropped 2 interceptions, and that those were definitely going to be game changers, right? The 2 interceptions he dropped. And then while I might as well get all my negative out. The only other negative I really got, aside from the offensive line, but you can't really blame them because of, all the injuries. I'm just going to say penalties. You can't have 10 penalties in a game and really expect to win.
Yep. Well, Campbell said that last week, right? Or was it last week or the week before? Whatever. After one of his games, he talked about we're not good enough to make mistakes.
That was last week, yeah.
It was last week. So that's still true, right?
It is. It is.
Now, the defense, there's been a lot of press about our defensive line and not getting pressure or not getting sacks, I should say.
Yep.
Right? But Michael Strahan, one of the greatest sackers of quarterbacks, said on TV that sacks, it's not always about the sack. While they're great, that is not the most important stat line. He's like, the pressure on the quarterback, making them move from their spot, making them throw the ball before they're ready, hitting a check, whatever the case might be, that is the stat line. And in defending Aiden Hutchinson and the Lions and what they're doing, right? I think the difference in this game compared to the first 2 is Atlanta. Ritter held the ball a little longer.
Yep.
Right?
Sure.
The first 2 games, Mahomes and Geno Smith, that ball came out 2.4. Right? 1, 2, 3, drop, bam. Right? And I know we talked about that. You can't get to a quarterback like that. It just doesn't happen. So he held the ball, the Lions were able to get the things done. Right? Hutchinson had 2 sacks today. 7 sacks total for the team. Even with our injuries, the players that came in and played specifically on the defensive side, I felt like this. I was worried about our secondary even more because of the people that who were going to play.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
They played fantastic. They played tight defense, and they made plays. They made plays.
Well, we're talking about like pass, like pressure rate. So before this game, and so I believe it's going to go up after this game. But before this game, the Lions had the 8th highest pressure rate in the entire NFL, about 39%.
Yeah.
So they were definitely pressuring the quarterbacks, but they just weren't able to kind of close it in and get the sack, because both the quarterbacks they played against, the first two, were highly mobile quarterbacks. I know Geno Smith ain't like a runner, but he's still mobile. The guy's good at moving around in the pocket, avoiding the pressure. And today, completely different story, right? There is absolutely that is not what Desmond Ridder does well. Desmond Ridder is more of a Tom Brady-esque guy, statue, and but not nearly as good throwing the ball. So he was definitely the worst quarterback they faced so far this year.
Absolutely, and he's a guy that moves well in the pocket. Like whether it's he climbs the ladder, right? He can move the pocket. That's where I think that's where he excels as far as, right? He's not going to be the guy that's going to get away from you.
Who are we talking about on this one?
Desmond Ridder.
Oh, because it sounds like you're talking about Geno Smith, but
Geno Smith isn't going to take off running on you. I mean, he can, but he's a guy too. When you talk about mobility, it doesn't have to be the guy like Lamar Jackson, who was their leading rusher. Right.
I'm just not a Desmond Ridder fan. Never have been. Right. Like I never liked him in the draft. I thought that he was being drafted way too high. So I don't like him as a quarterback. I don't think his awareness is there. I don't think that he makes good decisions. And I don't think that he is capable of throwing more than 15 yards down the field accurately. I don't like Desmond Ridder at all. I think he's a terrible quarterback, and it's probably one of the worst quarterbacks they're going to face this year. But it's
a true statement. I mean, because next week we got Jordan Love, and I was hoping Jordan Love was going to be stinking it up, and he's not.
No, I mean he's playing decently, but I think he's a little bit. He's better than Ridder for sure.
Yes,
but he's kind of in the same mold, as in doesn't run as much. He's not a running quarterback. He's more accurate than what Desmond Ridder is going to be, and and that's what he does. He'll move the ball down the field with little short dinks and dunks, and he's not going to make too many bad decisions for you. He's not going to turn the ball over. That's what Jordan Love's going to do. So, but it's just so we kind of are talking about it a little bit, but we're probably going to do like a full like preview game before Thursday between the two teams, but in reality though, the Packers, Jordan Love, they're showing some grit. I mean, losing to the Falcons by 1 point in the fourth quarter, last week, and coming out, getting behind 17-0 to the Saints and being able to pull it out 18-17.
Yeah.
That's...
Now, I know that still falls back on the defense, but that Saints game today, Derek Carr got hurt.
Yes.
And Jameis Winston came in, and they could not, they didn't, offensively, they obviously didn't do anything. They scored 17 points with Derek Carr and nothing after he got hurt.
Correct.
So
correct.
That
there was a
change
missed field goal at the end of the game though too.
So it shouldn't change the way your defense plays, right?
Right.
But I think there was more pressure put on the defense because the offense wasn't moving the ball. today. So, what I'm, just based on what we saw, or what I saw in that first half while Derek Carr was there and they were moving the ball, the Lions should defensively handle them. And on an offense, I think we're going to be just as good. So, while I was a little nervous to start, I mean, after today, because they were playing in Green Bay, and that's how well you played. You went down 17-zip, right? So, my only thing with that is, like, no. And it's a short week for them, too. Now, they don't have to travel, so it's a little different. But you still only have a week to prepare. And, a little less than a week to prepare. So I expect the Lions to come in there and just, I'm going to give my early prediction.
Okay.
24-10. Not a blowout, but handling business on both sides of the ball.
One guy we didn't talk about, and we should have, is Jahmyr Gibbs.
Jahmyr Gibbs.
So, going into this game, I said that I expected him to be the offensive player of the game. And because of Montgomery being injured, I said he's going to get over 100 yards combined between rushing and receiving. The one thing that stood out to me is only had one catch today. And I think that's almost criminal when you're talking about Jahmyr Gibbs. Like, the guy definitely should have been targeted more than just, for that one catch for 2 yards. And between Amon-Ra St. Brown, who is a beast, I love the guy. He's probably the best player in offense, Amon-Ra St. Brown. And then but between him and Laporta, right, they had like 77% or right around there of all Lions receiving yards today.
Yep.
But I think Gibbs definitely should have been targeted a little bit more in the passing game. I think some of those screen passes that went out to like other players, even Laporta on one occasion, should have been Gibbs, and again, I mentioned that I don't like the way he was being used. Today he had 17 carries for 80 yards, which is great, but only one catch for 2 yards, right? Like, the guy is capable of doing more. And that's all. That's all we wanted to say, right? Like, good game by Gibbs.
It was a good game by Gibbs, but I think a lot of his rushing yards came later. Like, early.
They did.
Right? So early, they were still trying to take him, and this is I'm throwing this back at you because you said this. They were trying to throw him out, run him outside the tackle. Right? So they're trying to get Gibbs outside, on those stretch plays or get it. Everything was trying to go outside the tackles. When they started running him inside the tackle box, that's when you saw his explosiveness, right? And that's where he was getting his chunk yards.
Yeah, it came in later in the game, and beginning of the game, they did nothing. They were keying in a ton on Gibbs, right? Wherever Gibbs went, you could tell that they were keying in on him. Yeah. They and when he touched the ball, like, he didn't have nowhere to go. Like, he was surrounded, and you can go ahead and blame some of the injuries on the offensive line. I mean, I get it, but you just, like, when you're trying to run the ball, like, you just, like, that can't happen, right? That's your identity. Your identity is run the ball. You have to be able to run the ball. But luckily, the offense was carried by Goff and Amon-Ra St. Brown and Laporta, right? Like, they carried the offense during the times they couldn't run the ball. And once the defense got gassed a little bit there in the fourth quarter, that's when they started being able to open up some more holes, and Gibbs was able to, start gashing them. So even though Gibbs wasn't running really well, or let me rephrase that. Gibbs wasn't running for yards in the first 3 quarters. Like, that still set the Atlanta defense up, for later on in the fourth. So
Right. Well, that's where the play action comes in.
it does.
When Scott and I were watching the game this week, he's like, why aren't they running more play action? Right?
Mm-hmm.
So you want to run, and then stop running on first down. Try run some play action, right? Because Atlanta knew with Montgomery out, Gibbs was going to be the guy.
Yes.
Right? So in that instance, they said, okay, that's the guy we're going to try and stop. And for 3 quarters, they did that effectively.
Well, I mean, the play that Laporta got his big touchdown pass on was a play action. Like they faked it to Gibbs, running to the right. Goff rolled out to his left, and then he started feeling the pressure. But by then, Laporta was able to break free, and that's where they got their the big gain from. It was a play action.
Right.
So.
Yep. So play action is where they live, because if you're going to be a running team, play action is going to be the next thing you do, right?
Yes.
So that Goff touchdown, his rushing touchdown, it was a read option, right? Mm-hmm. But all game, even our defensive ends were kind of crashing hard down, coming in hard. He read that and was able to get outside and scored that touchdown. And I mean, it's the ability to do those types of things. That's our offense. That's the identity of our offense. So, and there were just times where you could see Goff. He's like, I can't, come on. Like, hurry up, and I felt like he just waved them off. He's like, never mind, you know what? He did the Major League. He's like, screw you, Jobu. I do it myself.
Yeah.
And I cleaned that up for everybody because I know that's not what he said. But that's how I felt. And then on defense, a funny moment. And I don't know who he pushed, but Hutchinson grabbed the linebacker. Was it Rodriguez? Is he 44? I think that's who it was.
I think it's Rodrigo, yeah.
Yeah, Rodrigo. Hutson's like, you're on the wrong side. Get over. And he's like, he didn't want to move. And Hutchinson physically grabbed him and shoved him over to the other side.
I missed that one.
Oh, it was hilarious.
Wow. Yeah, but anyway, the game was great, right? We loved it. We got, the defense dominated. The offense, it was slowed mainly by offensive line play. I think if they had their starting offensive line in there, they could have scored maybe another 14, 21 points. Like, I really do believe that. I think they had the Atlanta defense on the heels. It's just, especially right there in the middle of the game when they lost 2 more, Matt Nelson and then the big dude. Anyway, lost 2 more, and they had to start playing Sorsdale. Like that really started to show. But anyway, special teams was good, defense was great, and offense was acceptable for today. We just have to see exactly, again, cleaned up some of those 10 penalties. Offensive line had quite a few with holdings. We got to get the holding cleaned up, and again, it's probably because of people playing out of position and stuff like that. But and really, we mentioned a lot about Sorsdale, as far as but he actually didn't play too bad. For a rookie, first time in a game, it was okay. That's all. It was okay. He wasn't terrible. But
like I said, I'm sorry, I'm actually trying to find that video. See if there's got to be a clip of it. So I could show you, but I'm struggling to see if they actually have that video.
Yeah.
But anyway, if I find it next time we do the pregame, I'll look between now and then and see if I can find that clip. Because like I said, they're both standing in the same spot, and Hutchins is like, "This is my spot. Get over there." And that's where he went. And it actually worked out on that play.
Yeah. So, all right. Well, let us know what you guys think as far as players of the game, stuff like that. And, stay tuned for our preview against Green Bay. We got to get that out pretty quick because, that's Thursday.
Yep.
So, but we definitely appreciate you guys listening. Comment, follow, let us know what you think. And we appreciate you, and talk to you next time.
Yep. See you guys soon.
Thanks for listening to No Pads Sports Talk. Be sure to subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. While you're at it, help spread the word by leaving a rating and review wherever you listen to podcasts. Follow us on social media at No Pads Sports Talk.